Hello again. Today on my series Blossom and Root 101, we have episode 2. We're going to tackle level 0 all the way to level 5 of the English language arts. So stick with me. I'll tell you all about it.
You look at me and see that I'm the type of girl you're not really that used to.
Welcome back, friends. If you're brand new to my channel, my name is Arlene with Arlene and Company. As I said before, this is episode 2 to Blossom and Root 101. If you aren't aware, I am also the director of community support for Blossom and Root. So your questions and, onboarding or just inspirations or ideas or just how to, or I don't get this, I'm your gal. All right. So I am going to walk you through the language arts portion this time. Last episode, we walked through all the sciences from level 0 to level 5. Why didn't I include early years into that? Just completely different. But I can focus on early years if you like in the future. I have shown the first edition, but the newer edition is not available in my IGTV, or it's not even called that anymore, but whatever. I have a page guide dedicated to Blossom and Root in my IGTV before I came over to YouTube, and you can see complete walkthroughs of subjects per subject, per grade, and all that jazz. If it's an older edition, it will indicate it as. Some of this includes beyond language arts. You can have an optional geography component, optional social studies component, and all that jazz, or state studies and all that. But we're going to get into that where each individual level that it pertains to. Am I in frame? There we go. I'm so used to being like vertical, and you think after a few months on YouTube, I would get used to the horizontal. I don't. All right, so level 0, if you're new to Blossom and Root, it is a literature-based, nature-inspired, Waldorf, Charlotte Mason inspired curricula, just kind of like an eclectic myth, even a little Brave Writer lifestyle vibe into it. But the levels are more true to the intent because you really can play around with it and depending of where your child is at. And if you're trying to combine language arts, I'm going to answer these questions as we go along, friends. All right, so it's going to be chatty. Get a snack, get a drink. You're good. All right. As you try to combine, science can be easily combined. You would just, especially with your, younger child, just, adjust your expectations and such, obviously, and, tailor for the older kid. That's usually what I recommend, go for the older child and tailor it down for the younger child. With language arts, it's a little bit trickier. Now, if you have kiddos that are close in age, yeah, it's very possible to combine the language arts as well. Now, this is a very personal decision. If you decide that, hey, I still want to combine them, do you? It's totally fine. I'm just going to tell you my personal recommendation based on, just experience and longevity with Blossom and Root. I would suggest combining like the sciences and nature and the other elements, and then picking the individual levels for each child if they're not close in age. Because as you will see, the, like the writing or the, reading passages and things like that is going to be tailored true to that level, right? Now, can you take a lower level and amp it up for an older child? Absolutely, especially if you're willing to supplement. All right, so for families that like to combine, there you go. All right, you're going to start with level 0, which has a gentle introduction with reading, writing, and literature. Remember that this is Charlotte Mason philosophy based. All right, so a lot of folks, wonder about like the, phonic base and all that stuff. If that is something that fits your family model, that is something that even Christina obviously recommends. Like you can either add AAR, all about reading, logic of English, any of those. Logic of English has a lot more elements, so if you just want strictly a phonic based program, you can add those things in. But this is not going to be like in-depth phonic based reading program. This is a literature language arts component, which is going to be true to a Charlotte Mason inspired curricula. Not a purist curricula, but inspired. So you're going to see a more gentle and gradual increasing where you will not even see grammar in this level, but it's something that it grows with a child with a copywork dictation and all that jazz. All right, so just make sure that you understand the philosophy before you dive into this, because, make sure it fits your family model. So there is an example on level 0. This is the revamp. I did a whole entire per subject video on each one, so I'm not going to go into depth in each one, and that again is in that page guide for Blossom and Root. There is an example on the week schedule. Notice that from level 0 to level 3 you have more of like that parent directed, so the schedule is more open-ended for you to fit how it fits you. There is examples at the beginning in the parent guide. Just as I explained in the science, make sure that you read, please read the parent guide. the introduction section. Don't jump to the first lesson, because then, especially if you're new to Blossom and Root, it's not going to make sense to you. You're not, you're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to be a little bit confused, especially if you're not used to a Charlotte Mason or, some Waldorf 5 and you're not understanding if you're coming from a traditional mindset, a brick and mortar school and how things are done differently. That being said, every family is different. Some families do not supplement at all and just do this and their child is great. And some families do add other elements to it. So whichever is you. And listen, I've used every single level personally, except for this level. Level 0, my kiddos were still in a private school. And I supplement because for my personal comfort, I just like to have those additional elements. Anyway, so here you're going to see the weeks at a glance. You're going to have the writing and copy work that is going to take place, narrations, and this is a part where you can scribe for your child, especially at this age, and you'll have more information on that. The reading section that it does include, like for example, reading a short A and long A, ordering uppercase letters, consonants and vowels. So you're gonna have all those elements here, but some kiddos need a little bit more structure, phonic-based program, and that's where we would say, add that element in. But this is what this includes for here. So the next few pages are the weeks at a glance. So I'm gonna go over, skip all over that, and you'll see what week that goes into, the literature that goes into. You're gonna see a lot of books in level 0. Some of the weeks, it gives you options like from 4 titles or a couple. And at this level, they're mainly like just picture books. So there's gonna be a lot of books. Source some from your library, source some from Livy, source some, wherever you like. And there are also some that are available like on Archive and stuff where they're available for free, like the older books, especially. Yours, how to teach this curriculum. So you're gonna see this introduction in every single level, and obviously it's gonna change pertaining to whatever is the focus on that level. And you'll see there's a focus in each year. Step 1, exploring literature. Step 2, the copy work. Step 3, the journaling. Step 4, the narration. And you wonder, what is the difference between journaling and narration? I'll tell you in just a bit. And step 5, reading lessons. So beyond the copywork, journaling, and narration, your child will have multiple reading lessons to complete each week. These lessons will vary week to week, and there are several types of reading lessons will be used. So letter sound review, building and reading words, word families, reading from literature. So this is within context, okay? And then go from there. So above all else, remember this curriculum is meant to support you and as a guide, okay? So you can make it work for you. The reading lessons and overview, so it goes over that Charlotte Mason Inspire approach. That's why I say it's very important that you are familiar with the Charlotte Mason philosophy, because if you come into it with not being familiar with it, you may be confused. Continues with your introduction to it, and you see many information on here, what to use for letter manipulatives, other lessons you will encounter, and giving you some picture examples and such. Important things to remember at this level, keeping lessons short and sweet, going at your child's pace. And again, it's just going to give you some feedback and things to look at as you go along in this. Then we go into the introduction for the narration, tips and modifications, how to break it up if your child needs that, adjust for expectations, guide to narration, and all that jazz. Adjust the activities to suit your child. Just because it states that, you do not have to do anything as written. Then you have the required book list. This is available within the sample on the website on blossomandroot.com, and you can go ahead and look at it very closely with a sample lesson that you can go ahead and print and try it with your child and see how it goes. You can print a week's worth of lesson and see how it's to borrow, to buy. Here she's gonna indicate like to buy or to borrow, and obviously that is a lot more in the sciences, because those books continue on and on and on for a while. So some of the spines, and spine being the main text that you use throughout the program. But in language arts, my personal opinion, most of this you can just go ahead and then you have a picture here with all the titles, just because I know sometimes it's hard to look at all this and see exactly what title is. So I love that she's, what should I add to this language art curricula? And then this is where we've been talking about the Charlotte Mason principles and a gentle academic approach in the early elementary years. So here is where we talked about all about reading, logic of English, or pinwheels by Rooted in Language, formerly They were formerly under Brave Writer, I want to say. So handwriting, you know, you do a lot of copy work. So, but if you feel like you need to add that as well. So you are guided onto what can you possibly add to this if you feel like you need to add to it. You don't have to. This is just a suggestion. If you are not very Charlotte Mason, but you just love the program, but you want to add your own spin, then she gives you some guidance. Here is a week in level 0, and notice it's not going to say day 1 do this, day 2 do that. It's very, especially at this age, you know, and I'm going to be doing a lot of plan with me's, and not only with our personal stuff, but I'm going to go back into like planning sciences and planning language arts and just giving you some visual examples. I know a lot of people are just visual learners of how to go about it, but honestly, once you get the rhythm down, it's super, super easy. And think of it as rhythm versus a schedule. But this is basically listed of a week. Now, just because it says a week doesn't mean you can't say longer or shorter. But this is what you are aiming to accomplish in this week. So the literature component, the suggested literature enrichment activity, which is optional. And then on the lessons part, you're going to have the copy work, journaling, and narration. So in the journaling, you read the prompt for the in the student notebook to your child, write down your child's response on the lines provided. And they may also want to add their own picture. Now, if your child is like writing and totally fine, they can write it themselves, or you can scribe that. All these titles in Blossom and Root are meant to be read out loud. Just because they're meant to be read out loud doesn't mean that you can't hand it to your child to read it. However, I know that there is some like, okay, why is this book, it seems so advanced, why is it in level 2, why is this in level 3? This seems more like, okay, bear with me, I will explain, because they're meant as read alouds, okay? But we'll go deeper into that when it comes up. All right, so the reading lessons, you know, lesson 1, review short A and long A. Lesson 2, ordering uppercase letters, introducing consonants and vowels, you know, and then that's just very gentle introduction. Let me show you the student page
really quick, and we're just gonna go ahead and read it. I don't need to download it. Obviously you would pick, you would print this for however many kiddos you're using the same level for. So a lot of questions we get, do you need to buy multiple? This is a PDF file, so you, within your own home, you print as many as you need for your own family. All right, so here you can see the level that they're going to be working on. So again, this is Charlotte Mason Expired, so it's going to start very basic. And remember, the journal entries you're going to be able to scribe for your child, or they can just draw a picture, however you like to go ahead and do it. The narration, so you know, to do with the story narrative that they're doing for the week. And then here, trace, print, copy work starts very, very simple. And just to give you a brief idea of what that looks like. Okay, and that's the student page. Now let's go back. Of course, at this time, you'll still also see the first edition in your Gumroad file. You are going to have also these cursive pages. Some families decide to introduce cursive first, or, you know, in different order. And then there's some cursive pages in the back that you can use as template, and then just print as many as you need forever. Many times you're going to do it, and it tells you, like, you know, what weeks it also correlates.
Level 1, my head, things have changed. Integrated language arts for level 1. This has integrated creativity, geography, reading, writing with folk tales, and around the world. So you're gonna have that mixed in with the folk tales, an opportunity to dive into geography at this level. The theme for level 1 is the stories we tell. This is the 2nd edition, so this is the newest edition that was released. And you are going to also have exploring stories we tell and the ways we tell them. So it's going to have a nice introduction to this. Parent guide, navigating the parent guide, so you can easily refer back to, if you choose to print this and not use it digitally, to where you need to go, instructional resources, booklets, supplies, lists, supplement suggestions, weekly lessons, and clickable links. There is clickable links, and you'll see them in the back. So if you refer to a particular week and it has a link, there's a clickable link file in the back of it. All right, So planning and scheduling, a 5-day week schedule, or maybe you school 4 days a week. But this is just to give you an example because especially with the first edition, it was really written with that open-ended that you saw in level 0, where you can fit it in wherever you like and whatever flow fits your family. So here you that also had an example of scheduling, but here you go again. So you can have, for example, for week 1 through 19. So it kind of varies a little bit of how she tells you to do this because the literature changes a bit too. So day 1, literature, begin reading the literature selections for the week. And then it gives you a suggested time frame or about how you think it's going to last. Day 2, so if you school less days, then you can easily combine 2 of these days together and it's not going to be like overwhelming or anything like that. Literature, finish reading the literature for the week. If needed, complete the literature project. Wordplay, day 3, writing journal prompt. Reading word lists and practice sentences. Day 4, the narration and the reading and complete the mini poems. You're going to see mini poems on here as well when I show you the student pages. Day 5, complete literature project 2, which is optional, and then the copy work. And then here will vary just a bit for the last few lessons of the year. Okay. We got that. All right. Well, what does it look like for 4 days a week? This is the example, like I said, from here. You know, you condense a couple of days and then you can have that schedule as a 4-day a week of schedule. If you are completely in a different norm of schedule, you kind of get the idea. So you have the same thing that you saw in level 0. Again, she's integrated these week at a glance look that you would see also like in early years, you know, into these levels. And you see again, week 1, the literature selection, literature project, and reading and writing, what they are tackling. So you can plan ahead, especially if you want to add some manipulatives or add any other elements that you just feel like you want to. Then you know ahead of time what's coming up. So I'm going to skip obviously all the weeks at a glance. Can't show you everything. Teach this curriculum. Again, part 1, exploring the literature, the student pages for the literature, you know, for the journal prompts and narrations, and then they're gonna have the poem, wordplay, the word and word families, the student notebook and reading, the optional copy work, and additional reading. Okay. And that is part of that. And that is, again, that is part of the introduction to get you started in the new year. Step 2, wordplay. We get a lot of questions on this in the group. And there is a nice section in your introduction and your parent guide about wordplay with suggestions and examples, okay? So you have wordplay and word lists. You have the mini poems, optional copy work, and optional early readers that are suggested as well. So here, for example, the wordplay examples continues, tips and modification, that continues as well. Then you have the required book list for level 1 to 19 and week 36. The main common thread is folks and fairy tales. You're going to have the list of books that is required or you know, suggested. Know that you can easily swap out a book to an alternative title and then just you know, go ahead and follow the theme and the lessons as well. Even though the copy work or whatever will be related to the book that is for that week, you can easily still do that and alternate a title. Let's say your child has already read the book or whatever, for whatever reason, you can swap titles. It's okay. All right, so week 20 through 35 are dedicated to exploring story collections. And you can substitute any of the 4-week collections for another collection. So, you know, you have a lot of freedom. Again, about borrowing books or purchasing, and always screen the story first. It's very, very important because you want to make sure that it fits your family. All right. So again, you're going to have the required book list for level 1, and it's going to say in this format, and you're going to see the picture presentation of it. So it's going to tell you what the focus is. This is the theme. And the selection we recommend, which will be reflected in the content of the curricula. Again, so this is what's going to be reflected in the curricula. If you swap a title, you can still do this part without reading the actual book if you want to swap the title for whatever reason. And then here's going to have a recommended alternative or additional stories to consider. You're free to choose a story not listed here, obviously. All right, so the focus, again, it takes a team, recommended selection on there, and then some alternative titles, all right? And you're going to see that for the whole entire year. It's very nice, guided for you if you're like to plan out your whole year at once. I don't ever do that, but you have the pictures here, like choose one. Talking about storytelling basket and what you'll need, and you'll see this. Ooh, I shook you. You'll see this reflected in the curricula, and it is broken down for you. Just, you know, every single part. It doesn't have to look like this. You can make it work however you like, but it is laid out for you about the storytelling basket. Then you have the supplemental resources. What should I add to the stories we tell? So here, so if you want additional phonics instruction, she goes over that. If you want additional grammar instructions, grammar is not introduced in Blossom and Root till level 2, not explicitly. And when it's introduced in level 2, it is done gently and gradually moves up from there. All right. It dives deep starting at level 4 and 5. All right. If you want more rigorous grammar curricula, then there's some suggestions there. And then it just kind of points you like, okay, this is an area that is not going to be like a traditional program. Do I need it or do I not? Spelling, if you want formal spelling, aside from copywork and dictation and all that jazz, and you want to add that to this particular level. If you want more than the weekly copywork passages, for handwriting, that's another area that you may want to supplement if you want to. All right. That is just to tell you, hey, up front, this is the areas that if you lean more traditionally that you may want to look at. All right. So here you have, let me see if I can show you. It's grown, friends. So this was week 1 and level 0. As you can see, and then level 1, it has more parts, right? So you have the literature selections to read to your child, the recommended, the alternative, and the optional poetry. So you can do poetry tea time. My kiddos used to love that. We need to do it again because you know what? You're never too old. I have middle school age kids, but you know what I mean? Literature project, exploring story, make story sequences in stones. Then a second literature project, you can do both. You can do one, you know, however you like. It's optional, but the first literature project, you can have literature projects throughout from starting at this level. All right. So, and obviously it's just done a little bit differently in level 0. You have the student notebook, the journal prompt, and then you have the narration. And then again, it reminds you, read the beginning of the guide for the tips and modification first before you start narration. All right. Especially if you're not familiar with Charlotte Mason homeschooling. Then wordplay. In the student notebook, the read word list. Mini poems, optional copywork selection, optional additional reading. I don't know what I'm saying. Tip, anything that she wants to point out to you. And this is how the weeks will lay out. Let me show you the other components of level 1.
The second edition. So we already went over the parent guide. Here, what do you mean to download? I want to read it. I want to download. But you can download it and use it in another application or whatever or not. Obviously, there's also an app for this. If I didn't mention that in this video, that you can view it right from your phone device or whatever you're using. So again, you would print however many you need within your own home that's using this level. They can personalize it, and here is like the step ups. It's not going to start with that introduction of like, you know, the alphabet or the letters and things like that. It's a little bit more robust at this level. So you have the literature general, illustrate your answer, working together. The character and the story had to work together to pull the turnip out of the soil. Can you think of a time when you needed to work together with a family or friends? You can transcribe or scribe for them, or you can let them go ahead at it however you like. So the journal has a journal prompt that is kind of just more free, kind of creative writing. Obviously, it's not always like made up or anything like that. It was a true situation, but the narration has to do with the story. So retell the story of your favorite part of the story from this week, you know, and then you can transcribe the answer. For a lot of open-ended communication with your child instead of those dry reading comprehension questions. I mean, there's still valid approach, but this kind of just opens the window to, you know, the things that they picked out of the story, of the elements that were something that stand out to them or something that you may have not even thought about. All right, so you have the word list, and here in the notebook, you're going to be referred to this in the parent guide and how to approach this and doing the word plays and the ideas with that. So when you see this list here and you're just like, okay, what do I do with that? Go back to your parent guide, read about the wordplay, different ways and ideas to present this. And then again, they're reading these words at this level, and you're going to see the progression throughout the levels. Here's the mini poem in this level. They can go ahead and cut it out and then just fit it in wherever they like. I do suggest, if you are printing the student notebook, to go ahead and print it single-sided. You can go ahead and print a few at a time. If you want to do it digitally, you can go ahead and prop it up on an iPad or whatever and have the prompt up there and then have them use their own notebook. We use main lesson books, so I think we only printed the student notebooks 1 year. The rest of the time we use main lesson books, school nest notebook, or EC notebooks. All right, so here again at this level, they're cutting and pasting it to where it would make sense. Then you have the copy work on here, and there's cursive in the back of the files if you prefer your child to do copy work in cursive. All right, so here they're getting, a lot of elements in copy work, so make sure you really dig into that of what is taught via copy work, and it starts very, very simple, but you're looking for their best work. Again, then you start the literature for journal for the next week, and then it follows that same sequence. You can see that, and then by the end of the year they're building on and more, so it slowly builds up and you go from there.
All right, so you're getting the idea. This is level 2. Level 2 or year 2. This one says level and this one says year 2. This has not had this upgrade yet, right? Or update. I say upgrade. That's what you think of it. Still fantastic as is. But notice that we're moving away from saying year to level. So this is what I was talking about at the beginning. So this is year 2, but it's going to be level 2. All right. Pay attention to the updates and release page, and that is on the website. And that will tell you, any future updates. Know that you purchase this level and an update comes up, you'll get that version too. It'll go into your Gumroad. All right, so fantastic journeys and perilous quests, parent guide. You have integrated creativity, geography, reading and writing with tall tales, trickster tales, and stories of adventure. So year 2 is really fun. I really think so. And again, it doesn't have to be grade 2. So gauge your child. And a lot of people at this point, they start looking at the book list, right? But also keep in mind that the narration, copy work, and all that jazz and the integrated grammar is gonna tailor more to that level. So if you're using it with an older child, you're gonna probably have to supplement and amp up some areas for them. But maybe they really love a certain title or a few titles from a level and you wanna do that and it's gonna work for your whole entire family, then go ahead and do that, it's cool. Just know that you may need to amp it up if you're using it for an older child. And this is also where you start going away from picture books and into chapter books for your read aloud. Some of these titles, you will see it independently in other curricula, in let's say a 5th grade curricula or 4th grade or whatever, and you're wondering what does it do in a 2nd grade. Remember that it's meant to be a read aloud. And if you look into like Charlotte Mason homeschooling, obviously our kiddos could understand or grasp stories that are beyond their reading level because it's not meant for an independent reading. Now, I say it's not meant for independent reading doesn't mean that they can't read it independently. If you have someone that's a voracious reader and just wants to go ahead and read all the things, they definitely can do that. However, because it's meant as a read aloud, we can step up the type of books and that fits the theme and the journey. And I can say that big difference of why a title that may seem a higher level than indicated level on here is in this current level, because you can step up, especially with Charlotte Mason, Charlotte Mason Inspired. But it's a gradual, you work up to it. It's not like, bam, all right, you're into like a chapter book that's 500 pages. I'm not saying it's 500 pages. I don't even know how many pages it is. All right, so what does a week look like? Again, you have like a routine. This is what it looked like before when you saw the update, but it's still in here. It's still in there. The suggestions are in there. So make it yours. I'm sorry, there's a lot of background noise, but it is what it is. Make it yours. Step 1, share the story. First, read ahead, share the story, explore the literature, optional enrichment activities, a student notebook, word play, all these elements continue to grow with you in each level, and then the complexity is going to get more and more as you continue to go. Word list, adventure poems, optional copy work, daily reading practice. This is, you know, the independent reading, and what they recommend. It's like Christina. Anyways, options, hand-on, manipulate the table of contents with your required books. Okay, so American Tall Tales is the first week 1 through 6. So again, these are shorter stories, and then the first like chapter book is Fortunately the Milk. Kids loved it. It's one of the favorite memories of, you know, doing Blossom and Root. My kiddos have personally aged out at the current moment, but I have a 7th grader and a 5th, 6th. He's like hybrid, but we had done all the levels. Then you have Trickster Tales. So again, a more condensed story. Then The Wind of the Willows. So that's, you know, your first, a little bit more. Again, and if something doesn't work for you, you can just go ahead and swap the title for something that maybe fits the theme. So it kind of just connects a little bit, but they can do the same type of projects and everything else. And you just kind of translate it. All right. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Modern edition title are The Wizard of Oz. So obviously you look at that. And then before you even hit The Hobbit, it's all the way at the end of the year. So you work up to that, right? So, and again, it's like the projects, the literary projects with The Hobbit is one of my favorites of all the levels. The Tale of Despero and Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. We talk about the more your storytelling basket, optional variations to the storytelling basket. Then some optional reading titles are go over that. Again, obviously I can't show you. Week 1 is laid out the same way you saw on level 1. The literature selection to read to your child. So obviously this is not going to say read 3 pages or this. Unless it's a longer book, then you will have more indications of like how much reading you need to do in that week to accomplish that. All right, and know that some of these other titles that are bigger, maybe you're choosing this level, but your child for whatever reason is not ready for the bigger books. Towards the end, there is graphic novel or abridged versions of a lot of these titles, or illustrated ones, or, you know, you can get something that is not the traditional, you know, first copy of it. Creative extension. Geography optional, map the story. Again, so you have that geography element. It's such a fun way to add geography in the early levels. In the student notebook, literature and writing, journal prompt that is optional, the narration, the copywork selection, the word play, 2 to 3 sessions reviewing the concepts for year 1. So you start with, when you start with the levels, you're gonna review the concepts that are from the previous level in the first lesson. All right, in the student notebook for reading, the word list, adventure poem, additional reading and such. And there's a list of recommended books at the beginning of the guide for kiddos in this level, but obviously kids vary so much. So, you know, just go with what interests your child.
So if you're coming into this later and you have not built up with every single level, know that the first week and stuff, you're going to have like some review. So you have literature journal here. Again, you can illustrate your answers. Your questions are going to be going a little level up, right? But we're still keeping it gentle, just like it's recommended in the early years with Charlotte Mason Inspired Curricula. All right, and then you have the word list, like a lot, but trust me, these are words that are also review, okay, from before, and then you'll see what it looks like in a little bit. Your mini poems is going to grow a little bit of from last year, and again, you're going to have the word bank that you can paste on here. If your kiddos were anything like mine did not like the cutting and pasting, so they just wrote it. They just copied it over and wrote the words on there. All right, so totally okay. You don't have to cut and paste if you have kiddos that is not their vibe. Then here you have, when we write a sentence, we always make the first letter a capital letter. On here is where you're going to have some instructions in grammar. Again, it's going to gently start in these levels, right? You're not going to see much grammar, anything anywhere else. You're going to see is a gentle introduction in level 2. Level 3 amps it up a little bit more, and then you go in depth in level 4 and 5 in grammar. If you believe that you want to have more intensive grammar earlier on, then there's some recommendations made in the curricula for you for supplements if you like, or you can always reach out to me. I like playing with Curricula. So here is the instructions with that introduction of a grammar element within the context of the literature that they're talking about or learning about. All right, then the literature journal for week 2, and let me just show you like the narration to the story of John Henry. Again, narration is very nice and open-ended. You can do oral narration as well. If maybe you want to cut a little bit of writing, you can do that or work through writing it down. All right, so here's the word list. You have vowel digraphs review. Read to your child, then explore the words on the list with the letter manipulatives of your choice. And then here you have the instructions for this lesson with these words. All right, so you see where we're working at. So as you can see, for some kiddos, this may be all they need. And some kiddos phonics-based program, and then that's when that would be added to it if you feel like that's necessary for you. So, either way, give it a try and see where you go. For my oldest is dyslexic, and my son really didn't need all that. Like, we did a phonic-based program, but it was not necessary for him. Every kiddo is different. She definitely benefited immensely for that. All right, so here, as you can see, I'm just showing you the first couple of 3 weeks, so you can just see the little build-up and how you see, the instructions and reading here. And then, some examples as they build up on there. And then the poem gets a little bit more. The copy work here, you read the prompt, you go over the grammar element that they want to go over. Again, that is gonna be right here for you, okay? So let's step out of the student notebook. So here is this is the language arts portion still. This is a creative extension. This is optional. You do not have to do it, but if you do, it's totally rad. So here, for example, is Photo Tales. It'll tell you the supplies that you need for a specific project. And these are totally unique and fun literature-based projects, and for your crafty folks. I mean, look at this. This is so fun. My kiddos this is the first time they learned how to use Photoshop as well, and you don't need Photoshop, but they wanted to do it digitally. You can go ahead and just print a copy of the picture magazine and then paste your kiddos in there, like cut it out, and then we would do this. But my kiddos took it a step and they had all kinds of fun. They made it more difficult on themselves, but that was totally right. Totally fine.
All right, so now we've arrived to Curiosity and Courage, which is level 3, which will be known as level 3, with year 3 on here. This is integrating creativity, geography, reading, writing with stories of whimsy and perseverance. All right, so this is, again, another fun year. The literature in this year is so fun. I really love it. I know, you think I'm biased, but listen, we used Blossom and Root way before I worked with Christina, so let's just go there. All right, so you have that Welcome to Adventures. You have the look at as an example when you're planning this out. Make it yours, your step 1. So you already know this. I'm not going to go over this again. It's going to have the same steps, same portions, the creative extensions, the wordplay, all that jazz. And then you have the books that you're going to need and what weeks you're going to need it, so you can plan ahead. Alice Adventures in Wonderland, The Phantom Tobo. We love doing this. William Shakespeare, A Midnight Summer Night's Dream. Listen, my kiddos really enjoyed it. This is very condensed version. It's still on my shelf somewhere. And then obviously continues from there. And you have poetry, the Book of Nature poetry for this year, and then some optional geography that you can add along with it, so you can look at the culture and creation myths, and you're going to be exploring those creation myths, through a secular, obviously, worldview. Then world geography and culture, that is my youngest eating while I'm recording. He's always eating while I'm recording. Right, Landon? He's like, yes. All right, so then some important notes for the parents, then the required book leading, and then some independent reading suggestions of books that you can pick for your child at this level. Again, I'm not going to show you all those parts. And you can look at the book list closely, with the book pictures right on the site as well, if you want to look at it again after this video. So again, it's structured the same way. This is the last year you're going to see a structure this way, so pay attention. All right, so this is week 1. Literature selections, poetry selections to read to your child. That's how it's broken up. Exploring the elements of a story. So ask, discuss with your child, what is a main character? How can we tell who a main character is in a story? What makes a good main character? Who is the main character? And so on, and then just go from there. And then you have possible guidance for answers that you're looking for, or maybe you don't really know what you're looking for. The main character is the central character, or the one that the readers follow through the story. They're usually involved in the problems, and it gives you the guidance there. So it's not going to just ask a question and I'm like, what am I doing? Literature project, again, you're going to have those literature projects with each book. Creative extensions, so fun. I love the creative extension. I want to do it again. Why not? Journal prompts, the optional part, narration, the copy work, and optional dictation. So this is the first year that you're going to have the dictation as an optional component. It just introduces the grammar component, and here you are going to get ready for level 4. All right. And then, so that's an optional part of the dictation. So the wordplay, student notebook. So all this, is broken up into the sections that you're following along as you did the introduction, the word list, playing with new vocabulary, additional reading, and then some bonus activities. Make a moving picture of Alice fall down the rabbit hole, and then you may have some bonus activities or suggestions on there. So let's take a look at the other elements of level 3.
All right, so again, you're going to start with a review on week 1 of concepts that may be the concepts that were learned in the previous year. So you have the literature journal. Again, you have that illustrate your answer. And again, if you don't want to print in the student notebook, go ahead and use a main lesson book, as is used in Waldorf-inspired curriculas or homeschooling, or a few other options, whatever works for you. If they have that space for the picture, they're even better, so they don't have to make it on their own. So share the narration, the word list, and again, you've seen the built up. So we are here in 3rd grade. Now, playing with vocabulary. So instead of going for the mini poems, now you're going to be playing with vocabulary. So use some or all of the words in the word bank to create an original sentence, poem, meme, joke, rap, song, lyric, etc. You can cut them out and paste them into the space above, or and continues on. And then it has a hint as well. So these are the words, and then they can build one of those many ideas with playing with the vocabulary. And then you'll be guided with this in the parent guide as well. Here again is your instructions of the grammar element. It's going to be in their student notebook, not in your parent guide. It's going to be right there in front, relating exactly to the copy work at hand. So when you're directed to look at the student book for one particular section on that week, know that your instructions are going to be right here, friends. Okay, right here. And within the examples and things like that, you'll know also the answer as well. So once your child has a chance to complete the copywork passage, you may choose to do an optional dictation exercise, and here is the open line. So we do that. Again, you can use your own notebook, but the student notebook is created and done for you, especially because it already has instructions in it. And this is how it builds up. Here's the word list. So the other one, the week 1 was review. Here we're getting into the lessons, right? So here it continues on. And again, remember that level 3 is still considering the early childhood education umbrellas of what the recommendations are for Charlotte Mason inspired curricula. So it's still going to be very gentle. So let's get out of here and let me show you here. And as level 2, you had, this is the same thing. You're going to get some instructions at the beginning of how to incorporate extensions and what the difference is between the 2 levels. And you have this particular project. Anyways, that continues on that you can use throughout the.
All right, so we've arrived to the first level where your child can gain some independence. Level 4 and 5 are indirectly to the child. That doesn't mean that you have to be completely hands-off. Obviously, there's a lot of areas that you really should be there. Integrating creativity, geography, reading and writing, and mythology, and hero's journey. You have the introduction to the year. This is transitional level. So some children are ready for it, some are not. Others will still and prefer the guidance of an adult. So there's multiple options, and she goes over each option of how you can tailor this year for your adult-led option. All right, so you can continue to do it just as you've done from level 0 to 3, and continue to be completely adult-led. Then there's a transitional option. Is your child ready for independent work, but not all of it? They're ready to do some of the assignments in the independent option. So you will still need to oversee their work to some degree, help them understand what to do and what to skip. So tips for use for independent, she goes over that in depth. All right, and then make it yours. We're familiar with this, right? All the steps. Part 1, exploring literature, the student bonus activity, and the super secret notebook guide. Okay, my kiddo, my oldest especially, really loved doing the super secret notebook guide. I'll show you what that looks in just a sec. All right, wordplay, word list, continue. Daily reading gets amped up. So you went from like 15, 20 minutes to now 30 to 40 minutes per day. Obviously tailored to your child. Then options for wordplay, that is also on here. So this is for younger learners who would still benefit from a younger play. Maybe you are combining this year with kiddos that are close in age, but you need to adapt it to a younger child. This is good ideas for you. The tasty geography is meant to be done together as a family. You have the main idea, countries, books, videos, and all that jazz. Notes for vegan family, note for gluten-free family. They try to include some gluten-free options for each recipe as best they can. You have the book list for this year. Again, you have those heftier titles, Miss Frisbee, Greek Mythology, Echo Mountain, Ramayana, Finding Langston, Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, They Call Me Guerrero, A Wrinkle in Time, Norse Mythology, A Wish in the Dark, then some poetry optional elements, and you have quite a bit of those. And then all weeks we'll have that optional geography. I mean, if you you can't do all the things, don't cut a tasty geography. Trust me. The next few pages were book supplies and things per week, and obviously that's required. I can't show you that. Okay. All right, so here is a week. Ooh, wow. Things have changed. All right, here we go. All right, so you have these little check boxes. Why? Because your child can go ahead and check it off on themselves as they complete it right on here. This could be like their workbook, course book thingy. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so literature selection, read this week. It will tell you exactly what to read, when to finish what part, and finish it by the end of day 3. So they are on to par with whatever the assignment is for that day. Optional poetry selections for the week, it's going to be there, and then it's going to say this is the first year that this is broken out for you. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then what happens with day 5? Day 5 is optional. It's a catch-up day, right? Or optional activities, optional added stuff. And if you want to do one of these things on another day, so keep your 4-day week schedule, then you totally can. All right, so here is day 1 in the student notebook. Complete the journal prompt. What is a hero? Elements of the story, introducing the hero's journey. Read the passage below and ask an adult to read it to you. And that introduces that lesson on the hero's journey. Complete the literature project, Miss Frisbee Ordinary World. And that's like a 1-day project. Some projects last a few weeks. Some are just like that day. Optional independent reading. Then day 2, the word list. In the student notebook, complete the copywork passage. Parents, cursive copywork can be found in the cursive copywork and dictation. So you can follow along. Obviously, this is your teacher guide as well. And then they have the student notebook for their actually, written assignments and stuff like that. Or you can opt for them to use their own notebook, however you like. The School Nest notebook, we use EC notebook or main lesson books. We used main lesson books for quite a while. Actually, in 4th grade, we were still using main lesson books. Optional independent reading for 30 minutes or more. Then day 3 in the student notebook, complete the vocabulary passage. So you see how it's dictation passage. This is something that they would hand to you for you to read with that passage along with it. All right, so day 5, you have the catch up, you have the bonus activity like model or map of the cinder block house. Optional complete tasty geography this week, like for this week is Canada. And then you have all these different options and videos and stuff and books that you can add, that all those is listed up front. So here is what that would look like on here. So week 1, Canada, optional supplemental resources for tasty geography. Then you have the books, the videos.
Literature journal week 1, what is a hero? Then you're gonna have the prompts that has to do with the lit that they're reading. They can still draw a picture. That's great. It's totally cool. We recommend, hey, middle school, high school, we still drawing, okay? And I have a very gifted artist, my oldest one. So if you take art away from her, from any of her subjects, she would not be happy. Week 1, again, it's a review, so I'm going to skip over this. Playing with the vocabulary, similar logic to level 4. You're going to be given a prompt of what to do with these, or, you know, you're going to be creating something with the vocabulary word and, you know, playing around with it in different forms. Then you're going to have some more extensions with the vocabulary. The copy work, again, here is your instructions. It's in the student notebook. I know that, you know, you're looking for the further instructions in the parent guide, but it's right here because the student is reading for this themselves, and they can refer right back to it. Lesson, it says prompt read this, whether you're doing it yourself or still as parent-led, or if you're going ahead and giving it to them independently. Here's the dictation page, and they're instructed to ask the adult to go ahead and read it slowly and a few times and how to do it. And then you go on to your next week, and I skipped over what I wanted to do. So here you're going again from words, and now you're also reading passages, and you will see that built up throughout as well. And then the passages get longer and longer as you progress through level 4 and level 5, and you will be prompted in the parent guide what week to do what, or to look at your instructions. So here, for example, preparing the super secret notebook, super secret words, playing with the words and images, listen recipes and mind maps, eyes and ears peeled, secret messages to the world, playing poems and lyrics, so on, so on, so on. That you will need for your super secret notebook. Whew! Might as well use the sketchbook, a large like 9x12 sketchbook, and then she decorated the cover and went to town. So the first one is super fun. It's just preparing the book. And then they go into actual, you know, the word collector, actual activities and stuff like that. Here for level 4. On these weeks, this was not indicated in the parent guide, so there's an extra file here that will give you that grammar key for these lessons. But every other week, the answers will be found on the dictation passage page in the language arts lesson guide. I'm going to show you where that is. So you have the copy work in the dictation page. This that you see right here, and this is explained in your guide, that is your answer to the grammar questions. So you will see that. Not on this one. That was the one that's added right here. So you have the copy work and the dictation. This is the dictation page in your parent guide. And then the answers, the nouns. I'm in the right area. The grammar responses are going to be.
Yes, we've made it. Last part. All right, stories we carry, level 5. This is integrated creativity, social studies, reading, writing with fiction and nonfiction, and poetry. This is level 5, my friends. This is the last one that came out. Blossom and Root will go through high school. It's just there's no exact ETA at this time that I can share for you for upper levels, but there's going to be more information on level 6. And just with Carrie, you have, again, that independent or transitional, transitional independent or such. Tips for using independent options, that again is repeated for you on here. You have make it yours, how to teach this curriculum. Remember, make it yours. All right, so you have all the same elements: copy work, dictation and grammar, vocabulary, the student literature, the share stories, explore the literature, the literature projects, you know, independent reading, the super secret notebook. It's still here. Practice writing, a lot of elements of writing in that notebook. All right, so wordplay, practice passages, playing with new vocabulary, copy work and optional dictation, daily reading practice, hands-on manipulatives, and so on. U.S. geography. That is, instead of having that tasty geography, you have U.S. geography on level 5. All right, so here you are broken down about the cookbooks, the main idea, and all that jazz. So all geography and social studies prompt in this curriculum are completely optional. All right, so you don't have to do it. So this year, obviously the titles are, if you're looking to combine with a younger child, just pay attention to the titles, because they deal with a little bit stuff that are a bit heavier. Frindle, Esperanza Rising, Front Desk, Fatty Legs, A Wolf Called Wander, Take Back the Block, When You Trap a Tiger, All 13, The Night Diary, When the Stars Are Scattered, such an excellent title. Show Me a Sign, the crossover from the Deaths of Zoe Washington, and then the poetry optional components. The recommended moves pretty quickly. So again, and just a reminder that, you know, change it to the pace that fits you. The rest of the pages in the introduction is going to have the breakdown of each week's with the titles and everything else. So obviously I can't show you that. I'm going to keep that covered. All right, so here you have week 1. Don't get scared. Don't get scared. It looks like a lot, but it's manageable, friends. It is. It is. I promise. All right, so literature selections is gonna say, for example, here you're gonna read 1 through 7 in this week, right? Try to start the selection at the beginning of day 1 and finish it by the end of day 5. If your child is a slower reader or you're still doing this as a read aloud, just adjust the optional readings for your social studies elements, the optional poetry elements. Again, so these are all like extra stuff. You don't have to add all of it. Day 1, elements of a story, basic story elements, a brief review, and then you have the introductional element to it. And you know, either you can read it to your child or have them read it to themselves, complete the literature project, and then it's going to go over that. The optional independent reading for 30 minutes or more. And then you have the next day, day 2. So you got a lot of onboarding stuff because you're introducing a lesson, right? You're introducing a title. So you have a day 1 is day 1 looks like, you know, it means business, but it really is manageable. All right, so day 2, day 3, day 4, the optional day 5. Here, you're gonna have the dictation, and this right here is going to have the answers to your grammar component in the notebook, and examples are covered there. Then you have what a social studies week looks like. This is an optional prompt for social options for social studies, and you'll see this throughout. So you have option 1, explore the untranslated words. Option 2, explore maps of languages around the world, or exploring the states. This is the option we did. This is a year-long option. It's very, very simple, just to learn more about the states and capital cities and
building up. So obviously, if you planning on using this for the long run, you can see the buildup of it. And one of the questions I'm asked, can you go out of order? A novel that just kind of fits whatever vibe that is going on in your house. Just know that you will just have to perhaps review some previous concept when it comes to the vocabulary or grammar or something of that nature that may have an element of built up. But it's very, very possible to go out of order and to change the orders of the week. You can definitely do it as long as you're okay with maybe reviewing a concept that may be like, wait, what do you mean this? And they haven't been introduced to it. Literature journal, again, you're going to have a review of words and the reading of the passage. Then you're going to have this, again, this is written directly to your child. So according to the lesson guide, you will be complete the prompt 1 below, and on day 2, prompt 2, on day 3, and so on and so on. Anyway, so here is what they're doing with the copywork prompts, and it instructs them on that part and the lesson. So obviously you're going to see it's more, right? So you have some cursive pages at the back. Here starts very simple with the first copywork passage. You know, we're easing them in. I'm playing with the vocabulary, and the playing with the vocabulary changes up as well. You know, exploring mono words. So we're talking about, you know, Greek roots and all that jazz. So here's the vocabulary hints sheets that you will see, the narration for the week, the dictation, and then you go into your next week. Now you see the passage has gotten longer. So let's skip. Let's go, you know what? Week 20 sounds good to me. And let's go there just so you can see the growth. So literature journal. So if you do skip around, know that if your child is needing that slower build up and you go to a novel that's in week 20, then you may have longer passages and more in-depth stuff like that. So keep that in mind, but doesn't mean you can't adjust it, you know? So here is the practice passage that they're going to be working with. Then the copywork prompts. Example here in this second prompt, there's find all the propositional phrases and underline them, circle the prepositions. Here's the passage that they're going to be marking, prompt, passage, prompt, passage. All right, so we are leveling it up. So here's the copywork passage. And then again, as you can see, the plain vocabulary is not super secret notebook. Same idea as level 4. The projects and such are going to change. And this is storytelling. This is creative writing, storytelling, and foundations for academic writing. So this is the focus of this year. And you're going to have, let me just show you the table of contents so you get an idea. You're going to have quite a bit of different elements here that they're going to be able to practice, especially if you've been worrying about, okay, what are about the structured type of writing? So preparing the super secret notebook, it starts with that. Crafting a paragraph, short narrative writing, procedural writing, short persuasive opinion writing, short descriptive writing, introducing the essay, long narrative writing, research project, long informative writing, communicative writing, long fictional writing, and poetry. So you end the year with week 3, just to give you an idea. So the secret mission, think about something you've done that you're very proud of and plan a paragraph about it. So we're talking about crafting a paragraph, short narrative writing. What to do: step 1, prep your page. Step 2, wake up on your storyteller brain, and then it goes in instructions of that. Step 3, the main project, and you go into details with action. And then you get that all like States notebook. This is, if you choose that option in the language arts, this is the notebook that you can go ahead and use. And most of the time I don't print the notebooks. I use, like I said, the main lesson book. This is one that I did print because it just made my life easier. You have the blank review map. How many states do you already know? And that's a prompt that you see right here. Week 3, I'm pointing to it, but this is a screen recording. You can't see me pointing. Connecticut, you're going to do the state capital, state abbreviation, state bird, state flower, some interesting things you learn about it. And obviously you're going to have those links with video links, books, and all that jazz.
That's all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. Drop any questions you may have in the box below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Trick on my sleeve, I can show you, but